Senator, first, your committee asked on May 17th that documents be produced by today from the White House and the FBI of any conversations, records, documents of former FBI Director Comey with the president. Have you received those?
We have not, and it's consistent with conspicuous non-production of things that we've asked for.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, work with the chairman on trying to make sure we pin it down, but we have a perfectly legitimate right to ask these questions. And just because the executive branch doesn't want them answered is no reason not to provide us the material. In fact, it's the reason we need to be provided the material.
All right, if you have a perfect right, are they going to say we have a perfect right not to respond, perfect right not to produce? And are we, the American people, just going to watch this stalemate?
We'll see, but I don't think that they'll be able to withstand much scrutiny with that. You know, we have the right to see documents. If they are the product of an investigation, if they're evidence in an investigation that hasn't been released yet, if they're the kind of information that Comey improperly talked about when he was discussing Secretary Clinton's emails, then they've got a reason to say that we can't have them. But if these were just notes of meetings conducted in the ordinary course of business, and we would have a right to them, the fact that a prosecutor is also interested in the same document doesn't mean that Congress loses any of its right to that document.
Have you been following the news that the Washington Post has reported that the FBI in March of 2016 had a memo about an email that turns out to be, you know, fake document, fake information, accusing Loretta Lynch, former Attorney General, of putting going to quash the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton? That memo was being debated and discussed in the FBI before the July 5th press conference. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of its featuring in the run-up to that press conference, but it sure does look like the Russians trolled the FBI pretty good on this. That's disturbing. That seems like that's proof positive. I don't know if anyone's doubting at all that the Russians were meddling in our election. I think everyone pretty much is affirmative on that one. But what about the FBI? Because there's been so much talk about that, it wasn't just trolling the FBI. I mean, there's been a lot of leakage about this alleged memo and the alleged, Lynch to the Democrats connection. So they actually trolled the whole country with that, although they planted the original troll in the FBI with the fake memo.
Are you at least disturbed? I am, that the FBI had it in March, and all they had to do is pick up the phone in March and call the Attorney General. They did a month after the press conference. They sat down with her privately, and she basically said, come talk to me publicly, talk to my staff. They didn't call Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They didn't call the other two people. They all would have said they don't even know each other. And meanwhile, the FBI is debating the contents of it, but they never even bother to investigate it. And this is our top domestic investigative agency.
I'd want to hear their side of the case before I came to any final conclusions, but it sure doesn't look like their finest hour.
Well, according to FBI Director Comey, former, he didn't want to talk about it in public because he said it was classified. We now have it, but when you look at it, you wonder what in the world is this classified for? It looks instead like he doesn't want everyone to see how the sausage is made, and that they didn't investigate it. They just talked about it.
Unless the counterintelligence piece of trying to hack back at whatever source got this to them and trolled them was the part of that was classified. I mean, they got had by the Russian intelligence operation. They presumably, once they realized that, were mounting some sort of counterintelligence inquiry to figure out how this had happened, and that all might have been what they thought was classified. However, by the time that exchange with Chairman Grassley took place, it's a little late to be saying now this is classified national security information. That horse has kind of left the barn.